Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This is I'll just kind of start with a quick overview for those of who this is the first time coming and tuning into this. We usually every weekend during the month of Ramadan, we've been coming with different Imams from different masajid. Part of it is to bring unity amongst the Muslims, amongst the Imams in the San Diego, and also to make leadership available to the people that are stuck at the house, some through because of safety concerns, some because of legitimate illnesses, and some because they just aren't coming out at the present time. But this is something that we know that is important to make different leaders available to the Muslims, and also because we live in a city where the masajid in some areas are kind of like the transit system, in the sense that, you know, we don't have buses and trolleys in every area. Just like the area that I grew up in, there's no trolley station. There's no bus that passes by my mother's house. In the same way, there's certain areas where there's no masajid, there's no community, and there's still pockets that are empty. So for those people, we want to make it available to where they can get one, reminders, guidance, and also get their questions answered. I mean, so with that being said, I'll go ahead and we'll start with you, Sheikh, and just ask. And we usually do this every time. If you can just give us an overview of your background, your education Islamically, and what brought you to your current position where you're at right now, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. My name is Seth Dean. I'm currently the Imam of MCC, Muslim Community Center up north. I've been the Imam here for about since 2010, so almost about 12 years. Before that, I was studying both Ilm and Quran, and while I was in the process of studying my secular studies, I studied STSU mechanical engineering and programming as well too. I was approached by MCC to become the Imam here. So mid-studies, right when I transferred, I also became the Imam here, and I've been the Imam here since. When I finished my studies, I had the opportunity to leave and pursue my degree, a job in my degree, but I decided to stay homeschooling my kids, and also because there's a dark road that I led, that I went through also, and hoping to make sure that the kids don't go through that same dark path that I went through. So I decided to put my degree over to the side and focus on the Islamic part only.
Alhamdulillah. And thank you for coming today as well. And that's inspiring, because that's for a lot of us, that sacrifice is the hardest thing to do. And that's what it takes for the needs to be met. And for us to sometimes benefit our own self and our families as well, that sacrifice of deen over dunya. So I think I'll kind of start with questions. If you can help for the people that are going to be praying. Well, I'll start with the Eid al-Fitr first, because that's usually, based on my understanding and my limited knowledge, that the Eid al-Fitr is to be paid before the Salah. And a lot of the times people just put money into a box, and alhamdulillah, they go on with their day. Can you kind of give us a basic rundown of the rulings on Eid al-Fitr? Does it have to be food? Does it have to be given out, distributed before Salatu Eid? What kind of food should it be? Should it be a specific type of food? Also, a question that came up was for the people, for the brothers who are expecting children and their wives are pregnant, should they be paying zakat al-fitr for the child that they're expecting as well?
So first of all, for zakat al-fitr, it's genuinely originally supposed to be something of dry food, rice, grains, dates, things that won't spoil. You don't want cooked food or anything like that. It's usually dried food that you give to someone. There is a permissibility that you can give money in place of it. Some scholars prefer that you give the food, and others say that there's a permissibility to give cash, as that might be easier also for because this is ultimately going to the masakin. It's not for you. It's not for what you like. You don't give someone the food that you like. You give them what they want, and that's why it's supposed to be dry and not cooked, because the way you cook it may not be appreciated by someone else that way. So you give them dry, and then on top of that, if you give them cash, they can also just buy what they want as well too. So typically, you're supposed to give them a meal's worth of food, and it's a certain amount that's weighed out. That the scholars, they'll give that amount a certain value. This year, because of inflation and stuff, they give the value of about $12 per person that you give for zakat al-fitr per person in the family. So the head household or the responsible person would pay on behalf of every individual that he or she is responsible for in the house. As far as being pregnant, I guess in one sense, you can take it as many different rulings apply to how far the pregnancy is. So when the soul of a baby is breathed into the womb, which is after 4 months, then technically that child is considered to be alive because the child has his or her soul. So at that point, there's a lot of different complications that may happen. That scholars, they say if it must be done, it must be done before that. So if somebody wants to, and just out of their heart, they say, you know what, I want to take care of it. If they're past 4 months, they can do it. And also, it's $12. It's not like it's a lot. So if somebody wants to give it and it doesn't apply, then it's just sadaqah that you're giving. It doesn't ruin anything. It just helps out more poor people. And if somebody doesn't want to give it, then it's also their opinions, I'm sure, to say that you don't have to. The child is not born. But if you want to play it safe, it's when that child has a soul in his body, which is 4 months after the pregnancy.
Alhamdulillah, that's very helpful. And also, you said, I don't know, maybe I just missed it. You said that it should be done before the Salatu Eid, and if it's done after that, does that invalidate it?
Oh yeah. Actually, I forgot to mention it. Yes, it must be given before Salatul Eid. Now, if you picture the old days, people can just walk down to Salatul Eid and give their zakat al-fitr. It can be done even last minute in that regard. So think of it that way, that in time of the Prophet ﷺ, while people are going to, they can actually leave with their zakat al-fitr and give it to someone. Unfortunately, it's not that easy today. What you want to do is give it much more in advance. There's a lot of organizations that collected way before Ramadan is even close to being finished. So that way you give it and it's distributed before that, whether you want to send it overseas or you want to give it to someone, organization here to disperse it, MCS or Bait al-Mal or a whole bunch of organizations that both distribute both food, dry foods or money. Give it to them well in advance so they can do so. And when you give it to them, make sure to let them know that it is zakat al-fitr so they can give it precedence and distribute it early. If it is done after the Salat al-Eid, then it's no longer zakat al-fitr, it will be sadaqah. It's still, you can do that in place of just so you don't, you have this honor for that act that, you know what, I didn't do it. You don't just say, oh, forget it, I missed it. You still give the sadaqah, but you will not, it will not be counted as zakat al-fitr if it's after the salah. So it's very important that it's taken care of before the salah, so in order to be considered as zakat al-fitr, as opposed to just regular sadaqah. But if somebody does miss it, you should still do it because it is still a sadaqah that it's sort of like you regretting or having a bit of remorse for missing that act. So by giving sadaqah this time, inshallah, for the next Eid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the tawfiq for you to either to remember or to give it precedence so that you can give it in time, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. So now this is I have another question. If when we talk about zakat being a pillar of Islam, and I know generally we're talking about the annual, of course, usually now annual the financial 2.5% of our wealth that we would pay, or if we have crops or livestock, whatever percentage we pay out of that. Is Zakatul Fitr, is it included in that as a pillar of Islam, or is it something separate of its own? Is it not counted in what we call a pillar of Islam, or is it also included in that what we say as being a pillar of our faith or of our deen?
It is connected to the pillar, but not to the pillar of zakat. It's connected to the pillar of fasting. So this is a part of fasting that we do. It's connected to that. So for example, there's a lot of a'mal associated with fasting. We don't eat and drink, but then there's Qiyam al-Layl connected to it, which is the Taraweeh. There's Khatm al-Quran that we do. And Zakat al-Fitr, it is one of the things that's more, that's on the, some scholars say it's Sunnah Mu'akkada, which is a very mandatory Sunnah. It should not be left out unless there's an excuse and somebody doesn't have it. And others will put it on the rank of wajib, that it is necessary for you to give. So just as it is like a fasting, there's a lot of deeds connected to it. Zakat al-Fitr is one of those deeds that's connected to fasting.
Okay, and the ruling would be anywhere between Sunnah Mu'akkada or Raghiba and between and Fard or Wajib. It's somewhere in between. The ruling would be, it would fall somewhere in between those categories.
Yeah, it won't be Fard because the scholars that give it Wajib, they have a different category as Fard. And the scholars that don't differentiate between Fard and Wajib, they will call it Sunnah Mu'akkada.
Alhamdulillah. That's thanks for the clarification. Jazakallah. Okay, so kind of now going off of that, and this is tied into it, is the Salatu Eid. So we, you clarified some of the and the reason I'm asking some of this, because I want people to be able, for one, for myself, for two, I want people to be able to fulfill their obligation and be able to do everything correctly. So if you can give us some of the rulings on Salatu Eid. One, is it the category, would it be considered a Fard Kifaya, a Sunnah? Should it be done indoors, outdoors? The timing of it, what for the people that for some people, this might be their first time praying Salatu Eid. What can they expect when they go? Are they going to hear an adhan? Are they, I want to come just with the understanding that we may have some new Muslims as well, or some Muslims that have been Muslim a long time and may need clarification on some of the rulings around Salatu Eid.
Yeah, Salatul Eid, again, the opinions will differ a little bit as to what the ruling of it is between Wajib and Sunnah Mu'akkada as well too. It is something that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged everyone to take part of. Like, for example, during menstruation cycle, women are not to go near the masjid. That is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. I know there's a lot of fatwas that say different things. I'm not touching those, but just according to the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says the women that are going through menstruation cycle should not pass by the masjid. However, when it comes to Salatul Eid, the Prophet ﷺ says even the women that are going through the menstruation cycle, they should still attend the Salatul Eid but not pray. So the congregation of Eid is very important. It is one of those things that it's like the end for your Ramadan, and through that Eid, it is said that go, you're all forgiven. So it is a very virtuous congregation, and everyone should take part in it regardless of the situation. If you have work, if you have school, you should take advance, just like anything else that's important to us, we try to make it happen. And you should try your best to make it happen by either talking to your teachers, talking to your boss, talking to whoever to see if it can make it happen, not the day before, but much in advance so that they can prepare for your absence. And that's what you giving, that shows how much importance you're giving to that deed. So it is something that every single person should attend. Now, where should it be held? There's a lot of things that sort of in today's society we've sort of like neglected. One is how Friday prayers done. The other, Salatu Eid, where these things technically should be happening in one place. Now, the Salatu Jum'ah should be happening in one big masjid for the whole city, and the Salatu Eid should be happening in one big area for the whole city. So there should be one Salatu Eid for everyone. But it's the way it is right now. Most masajids, but there'll be a few in each city, which it doesn't invalidate anybody's Salatul Eid. So whichever one's easy for you, it's better for you to do one as opposed to not be able to reach one for whatever reason because of work or school and not do it at all. So there are rulings for the Salatul Eid of everyone should be doing it together. But if that's not possible, then you can attend the closest one possible for that. Now, the method of doing Salatul Eid, there's many different opinions. I'm not going to get into it because when you go to the Salatul Eid, the Imam that's leading the Salat, they will inform you of how to perform the Eid. So I'm not going to explain one way now. And when you go there, you get confused. If the Imam is Hanafi, he'll do it one way. If the Imam is Shafi'i or Maliki or Hanbali, they'll do it a different way. Or if the Imam is just like takes what he believes to be the most strongest opinion, he'll do it or his way. So just listen to your Imam. All of those are correct. There's no need to attack a certain opinion over the other. If it was to be attacked, the scholars in the past would have attacked it already. It's just a contemporary thing that we're doing where we feel to justify our own stance, we got to attack another stance, and that is not correct. It's actually one of the things that the sign of the day of judgment, that the latter nation or a part of the nation will start putting down the predecessors and the previous nation, and they're not there to defend themselves. If any of those scholars came before us, we will not be able to speak a word to try to prove them wrong in any way. Their sacrifice in the deen was far more than any one of our sacrifices.
That's a good point that you bring up. I mean, I would add on not only just not it's a good idea not to attack the scholars of previous times, but even the scholars that are still living today. I try to make it a point that that the ulama, if I hear something that I might not agree with from a social or political stance, that I should not speak ill of any Muslim, but particularly, especially the ulama who have sacrificed so much and spent so much of their time and effort to learn the deen and also disseminate the deen, because we never know how great a person's state is with Allah, especially people who have dedicated their life to service of the Muslims and service of the deen as well. So that's a good point you bring up, because now, I mean, you see it all day now. People making videos, YouTube videos, attacking scholars and trying to get fame by bashing the next person, which is in one vein is kind of confirmation of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that people don't argue until the knowledge comes to them, and a lot of times we're dealing with people who have a little bit of knowledge, and they start doing that. I remember my father saying that sometimes it's better to have no knowledge at all than to have a little bit of knowledge, because when you have a little bit of knowledge, you start thinking that you really know something. But I mean, that's a good point to bring up. I guess I'll shift gears a little bit and maybe hoping that you can give us some insight into this. Me, I'm not as aware right now what's going on. A little kind of, because I have a few close friends that have recently traveled to the Haram, but the next big event for the Muslims globally is going to be Hajj, and I know that it's opening up now. Things are kind of clearing up a little bit, and there's people that are planning to make Hajj or at least have the intention to make Hajj. can you tell us, or do you know any of the new restrictions or rules surrounding the Hajj this year? Things that are different from years before, limitations on the numbers. Is the visa process different? Anything that you can, any insight onto Hajj?
That one, I am not too informed of the new rules that Saudi has put on for the people going Hajj. There is a lot more clearance, I know, for people to go there. I'm not sure if there is, it is more relaxed, obviously, than previous years, but how relaxed, I can't say for sure. So I would say talk to the agencies and the groups that are creating the Hajj programs. They're the best ones because before they get the visas, they're going to be informed of what they should and should not do, what's expected from every individual, what vaccines they need to get, all that stuff. They could get it. The ones who are best informed are the ones who are creating those Hajj packages. So their agencies have been given all the guidelines that Saudi expects. So I would contact them to get the information.
Okay, with all the other inflation, I'm wondering if the price to make Hajj has been inflated as well.
Yes,
I would imagine so, but Allahu Alam. So I kind of want to switch it from we talked about fiqh, and I don't like to get people too bogged down with fiqh, because I know that can get intricate and real technical when we start getting into the weeds. And like I said, the main thing is that I just want to, make sure that people get the most out of their ibadah, and make sure that people are not confused or lost about what should be taking place. But I kind of want to switch it over into more of the spiritual and more of the, I'm not gonna say practical, but that which is going to make people more mindful of their Lord, and of what kind of the purpose of Ramadan in the first place. So if you can just kind of shed some light on this is the last night that we have of ibadah during the month of Ramadan. This is the last chance kind of we have, for some of us, maybe the last chance we have ever, to do ibadah during the month of Ramadan. And we know that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has informed us of the magnitude of this month. And, unfortunately, for a lot of us, it has been hard to really fulfill the rights that this month has, the station that this month has, because of other engagements, because of the work and the school and whatever else we have going on. But can you give the people all of us, some advice of how we should be trying to spend the next few limited hours that we have, and how to maximize, get the most benefit out of this time before we move on to the month of Shawwal?
Yeah, basically we have till Maghrib to do what we can in the month of Ramadan. As soon as Maghrib hits, Ramadan will finish, and it will be the day of Eid. It will be the next month. So this is the end of it. And the Prophet ﷺ says deeds are according to its ending. So you can really push yourself to do something. For example, if you have 2-3 juz of Khatm al-Quran left, don't say, what, I couldn't make it. Get in there and just do it. And even if you left one page at Maghrib time and you didn't finish one page, it's a lot better than you just thinking, oh, three left, I wouldn't be able to finish it. So whatever's left, and whatever so far, right now, you can probably think back for the 29 days of Ramadan, and you can probably find a thing or two to regret, that you regretted. I did this. Why did I postpone that? I would have done that. I said I was going to do this. Do it right now. Don't wait for next Ramadan. Don't lose hope and think, oh, Ramadan is finished. You still have time. Whatever it is, it could be doing something for your parents. It could be just in your salawat and your Quran recitation, in your adhkar. Just do it, because what you can take from Ramadan is not just like, okay, we're in Ramadan, we're just gonna do what we can. Okay, we're out of Ramadan, we're done. That's not the whole purpose of Ramadan. We're not Ramadan Muslims, where all we do is just think of all the things that we can do and really go into Ramadan and just get a lot of good deeds, and then after Ramadan we go back to our normal daily life before Ramadan. That's that. If Ramadan is treated that way, we didn't utilize and Ramadan the way we're supposed to, and Ramadan didn't have an impact the way it was supposed to. Instead, try to set and see what you can continue doing after Ramadan, and you can continue it right now and continue doing it after Ramadan until next Ramadan. For example, if you made Khatm al-Quran, how much time did you put into it? If it was something that you can continue putting after Ramadan, do it. Make Khatm al-Quran every month. If it was something that's a little bit more that you can handle outside, you maybe put 2-3 hours a day, then say, okay, well, it took me 2-3 hours a day to make Khatam in 1 month. What if I do 1 hour a day and make Khatam every 3 months? So use your mind to set something up for yourself that you can make it easy for you to accomplish tasks. We in the secular world, the structure has already been made for us. We don't really have to try much. We just get dumped into kindergarten, and slowly we just graduate college and we become professionals. But that doesn't mean that we can't create a similar structure for our own Islam. That how much time am I going to dedicate for Quran? How much time am I going to dedicate for learning the hadith of the Prophet, for learning the seerah, for learning these other things, and just make a curriculum for yourself, just like you would have in college, and just like you would have in high school or in other school, or even just like how you have a professional schedule in your professional life as well too. You can set these things, and it could be whatever you want it to be, but slowly you have this consistent amount of consistent structure that by the time next Ramadan comes, you'll be at a much higher level than you were at the end of this Ramadan. What does that mean? Next Ramadan will just push you much higher. And you're going to set up a completely new schedule. Just like in college, every year, every semester, you set something else, higher courses to get you up higher and higher and keep going until you're done with it. So nothing is stopping us from doing this for our Islam as well too. So right now, don't even think about that right now. Don't sit now in Ramadan and be like, okay, you know what? Let me think what I'm going to do for the next 11 months. Because sometimes we can trick ourselves. Right now, you're still in Ramadan. What are you going to do right now? What can you do right now from anything? Opening the Quran, praying Salah. What can you do right now? Khidmah for your parents. Whatever you do, it's multiplied a great amount in the month of Ramadan. So don't waste that on or spend that trying to plan for the future. It's like sometimes we get tricked by shaitan. Just using Salat as an example. Salat is a perfect example because when we say Allahu Akbar, sometimes shaitan comes to our mind and tells us all the good things we could do in the future after Salat, even right after Salat. I'm going to do this, I'm going to clean the masjid. But at that moment, you should be thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Salat. He's watching you, not thinking about your future, even if it's something that's good. So the same thing in Ramadan right now, just wait a little bit on the planning. Right now, just focus. What should I be doing in Ramadan? What's the maximum amount of benefit that I can get from it? Because when it comes to bad deeds, it's very easy in Islam. Don't do it. But when it comes to good deeds, you have to stop and say, wait, is there a better good deed that I can do at this moment? So planning your schedule right now for the next year is very good. But is there something better you can do right now in the month of Ramadan, right before it finishes? So I would say, whatever you're doing until close to iftar, do it. But as soon as it gets close to iftar, the best thing you can be engaged with is dua. And just keep dua for the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Just keep making dua. Don't even worry about saying things in Arabic to make it sound nice. Just you and Allah. What do you want? What happened in this last Ramadan? What do you want after Ramadan? What do you want out of life? And just while you're making the dua, understand dua in this aspect, that you're not making wishes. These are not wishes. You're asking Allah to open up paths for this dua to become true. That's a dua. So as soon as you say, oh Allah, make me righteous. Oh Allah, make me hafid. Oh Allah, make me rich. Understand afterwards, slowly, doors are going to be shown to you for you to walk through and achieve that dua. You have to be rational and intelligent enough to walk through that door. You can't say, oh Allah, make me rich. And then someone comes to you and says, hey, I got a job. You want to work for me? Like, no, I don't want to work. You're closing the doors that Allah SWT is opening for you. So you can't say, oh Allah, make me hafid. And then Allah SWT just makes it so you get less hours at work where you didn't need. Now you have more free time, but then you complain, oh, I want more work time. And you're canceling away your free time. So you have to look to see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you what you want, and don't complain about the situation, but utilize and think about the situation of how this is going to help you achieve your dua. Because every dua will be a path for you to achieve at the end, for your dua to become true. Otherwise, we're treating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like a genie. Like we're just rubbing a lamp and we're saying, oh Allah, I want this. Where's it? How come it's not here? And that's not how it works when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Very good. That's alhamdulillah. This dua is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open up doors to achieve what it is that we desire. So that's really good, and really really puts it all into perspective. Because we do have to, we have to believe the miraculous, but also be intelligent and use our aql as well. So that's a good reminder. I'm gonna switch gears again, because I want to make sure that everything that I want to touch on is expounded upon. So one of the things that kind of came up to my mind recently is it's really from, me for one, moving around myself a little bit and connecting with different Muslims in different areas, but also several friends of mine that have been traveling around just around the country in general. I'm not even talking about the global community right now, but a lot of people that I know have traveled to different areas in America, and they've come back and said, well, I'm glad to be back home, because some of those other cities are, the situation is much different. The situation of the Muslims is different. The segregation is stronger. The access to
I think you froze. Hopefully it's not me. No, Brother Ghaus, you can tell me if it's me I should disconnect, or if it was.
You're there, so you can add any comment, Imam Saif, and we can later on do the management to continue his part.
Do you want me to disconnect and join back? Is that what you said?
No, you're good. The management will join.
Okay.
But you can leave us with some thoughts, inshallah, and then the management will join.
I'm sorry, your voice wasn't coming out clear. Can you repeat that one more time? You can type it in the message.
You can. Right, he's here, but
okay, yeah, sorry about that. My
Okay.
my internet kind of is spotty right now, I guess. But so I was speaking about the fact that a lot of the people that I come back kind of relieved to be back in San Diego, because like they say, you never know what you have until it's gone. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's easy to be critical of the community in our own area if we haven't been exposed to areas that have it worse or don't have it as good as we have it. And then when that's taken away from us, we realize how fortunate we are. So I say that to say that, without being critical, what are some of the strong points that you see about the Muslim community in San Diego? Things that we should be thankful for, things that we are, areas where we're strong and areas where we're doing well.
Well, first of all, when it comes to comparing area to area and communities to communities, that's all what we're used to. Whatever we're used to, we're going to enjoy that more. We're going to see that more. And whatever we're not used to, we're gonna like notice it in a different way and in a negative way. In reality, every single place has pros and cons to it. The only place that we can say is completely positive and there's no con or no negative to it is Jannah. And the only place that we can say that's completely negative and no positive to it is Jahannam, is hellfire. In this world, every place you go, because there's human beings living everywhere, there is a pro that's keeping them at that spot. and there's a con that everybody has to deal with. So for the most part, I would say everywhere has its ups and downs, and some places they're very strong in the halal meat and restaurants and stuff like that. But and everywhere has their own thing. In San Diego, mashallah, I've been here for since pretty much I joined the Quran school since 2001 is when I first joined the Quran school, and I've been here since. Um, there's a distance and a closeness that I see in every community, where in some places maybe some people come a little too close into people's lives, and and people don't enjoy that. And other places they're completely separate, where we just say salam to each other. I think San Diego has this potential for all of San Diego to come together and accomplish one thing when needed. And when at other times they can each continue doing their own thing without being offended in any way. For example, I remember, mashallah, Darul Ulum, Mufti Shakib wanted to open up that masjid. All of San Diego just came together as much as San Diego could and really helped where they could. And they were able to get that place. Other times when they're doing their own thing, no one's critiquing him. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing? And they're like, Mufti Shakib is doing his own thing. Sheikh Saad is doing his own. Sheikh Taha, Sheikh Abdul Jalil, everyone's doing their own thing to that sense. So that's a really good characteristic that I think within San Diego exists. That anytime we're a large enough city that it's so dispersed, and because of that, that's maybe where one of the cons that we have is we don't have much like halal restaurants in different places. It's a few scattered around in different areas. But whereas in other places which is more congested, like Los Angeles or Chicago or Texas, in the Muslim areas, that they have a lot of halal restaurants in that area because there's the population is so much more. But because of that, we're able to enjoy this times that whenever something happens, the whole of San Diego can come together and accomplish what's needed. But at the same time, when San Diego is when everyone's is doing their own thing, it's gotten better. I know in the past 20, 30 years ago, there was more critiquing, more masajid attacking each other for different issues. But I think, mashallah, a lot of people have outgrown that. A lot of shuyukh now, they work together. A lot of communities work together. And I think that's really nice. Eventually, hopefully we can come to a point where we do one Eid for everyone and everyone can come together to that respect. And it will take time, inshallah, that will happen. Maybe even more than that, one Jumu'ah in one area. Mashallah, there's a group of brothers right now. They're purchasing land to make one burial site, and it's going to be free burial for everyone, no reserving, no reservation. But hopefully, they're about to. I think they're getting about 30,000 burial plots in that area, and they're making it for all of San Diego. And now all of San Diego is coming together to make sure that that's achieved. So these are the things that we need. The centralized ways, MCS, mashallah. A centralized way for all the masajid to give their zakat to them, and then they distribute it to the needy. This is the way that I think San Diego, at least what I like about San Diego and what I've noticed. I'm not saying these things don't exist in other cities, but this is what I've known to be a very positive thing in San Diego.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, and that's bringing up that project. That's something that I think it's Crescent Wood, if I'm not mistaken. And so also for those that are watching, any way we can support that project, I think is something that we definitely should be doing, because it's much needed. I've had several incidents where people have had that need, and because the Muslims don't own the land and don't own the burial plots, that it's been kind of difficult and very expensive for people to properly bury their loved ones. So with that being said, and what you said is important, and it kind of ties into the work that we're looking to do at the Muslim Leadership Council. Is the whole idea behind it is to to unite the Muslims in San Diego. So we have an open line of communication. So we have connections with community leaders, but also the Muslim organizations that are doing the work, and that we at least have dialogue. I mean, because that's one place to start, is just a dialogue. Because if we're not even communicating with each other, it's hard to be unified if we're not even having those conversations. And we also invite other Muslim organizations and other Muslim masajid to be a part of this effort, because it's important. And we spoke about this on the last webinar that we had. And one of the things, me as being a student of history, is that one of the downfalls of the Muslim empire, the Muslim world, the Caliphate, however you want to term it, is that we were in a state where everybody wanted to be individual. Everybody wanted to, and a big part of it was nationalism, tribalism, to say that we don't want to have a person from this community, this ethnicity, be in any position of leadership over us. And those who sought to divide the believers, they use that against us. So as all of us should be students of history to some degree, because the Quran, as much as it is a book of inspiration, it's also a book of history, and we're given the stories of a lot of different people to learn from the history. So as Muslims, we should be also learning from the history of the Muslims around the world, the Muslim community historically, and to make sure that we don't fall into some of those same mistakes. So that this is the work, a big part of what we're trying to do at the Muslim Leadership Council of San Diego. And we do definitely hope that that movement to kind of unify the Muslims spreads. With that being said, I'll ask another question, that because you highlighted and importantly highlighted some of the strengths that the Muslim community has in San Diego. The next thing is that, and this is kind of really like a call to action, what are some of the areas that you see that are not being fulfilled by the Muslims that could be fulfilled, areas that Muslims should kind of be leading the charge on? And I give you an example. For me, one of the things that I've seen, because I work with a lot of people that are marginalized, people that are affected by the criminal justice system, by law enforcement, and a lot of Muslims coming home from prison, or Muslims that have family situations that aren't great, and they don't have basic needs, housing. So one of the things that I would like to see, in the city is housing, reentry housing for people that, for Muslims particularly, and housing in general for Muslims that don't have a place to go. You'll be surprised in homeless communities, homeless encampments, how frequently you might see Muslims that will tell you, that will identify as a Muslim, but their situation is not great. So I mean, there's plenty of areas we can talk about, mental health, so on and so forth. But what are some areas that you would like to see being addressed that Muslims could and should be taking the lead on?
There's a lot of places actually. The Ummah, I remember one of the scholars, he said, no matter how small of an act you do, be grateful for it, because even the smallest of act is very great in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But no matter how big of an act you do, no matter how big it is, it's still very little compared to the need of the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So no matter what we accomplish, let's say we open up housing, we're going to need more. So it's a constant thing that we should never feel that we're ever going to reach a goal. It's a constant effort that we have to make to keep fulfilling the need that's going to keep rising, no matter how much we do. So, but yes, what you said, I think there's a certain group of Muslims, African American Muslims, Hispanic Muslims, pretty much new Muslims, and also Muslims in certain areas that are neglected a lot. And those brothers and sisters should be given a lot more attention and not just like, hey, we're going to help you out with this, but really make them make them feel a part of the Muslim Ummah. I remember there was one sister, she was a very nice sister in the Quran class, but she was very upset that people would even giggle at her when she would just say Assalamu alaikum, but she would say it in an accent, and people would just smirk, and that offended her to a great deal. So just simple, small things like that to make everyone feel home and welcome. That at least should be the beginning, and then yes, that empathy and that consideration will lead to everyone trying to take care of the bigger needs, the financial needs, the physical needs, the mental needs, the social needs that organizations or groups of our brothers and sisters have. And even on top of that, once we even take care of that, there's just humanitarianism to take care of the brothers and sisters in humanity that are may not be Muslim, but they still are in the same situation and they still have the same need as well. We as Muslims can take care of them as well. As the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, sadaqah can be given to anything with a liver, but not to only Muslims, not to only our brothers and sisters in Islam, but also our brothers and sisters in humanity as well too. So that's a big part of it. And as soon as we do that, we'll learn a new stance, like a new affirmation that we'll have within the American society as a whole. When we actually get our true American brothers and sisters, the ones that have been here for so many centuries and they've come into Islam, for them to stand next to us is a completely different level of confirmation of Islam. People nowadays, even with all the American Muslims that are African American and Hispanic, still people will think that how can an American be a Muslim? So that's still sometimes a shock to people. And for them to understand that, yes, it is possible, people can start to understand that Islam is a part of America. It's not something separate. And it will open up people's minds in that regard. That's one thing. So definitely what you said, I think that should be given attention to. Another thing that I think is very big that's sort of neglected in a lot of masajid, but slowly masajid are taking part, but we still haven't found a very nice way to accomplish it, is the youth. The youth anywhere, and for the most part, we have the youth taken care of from young age to like maybe 13, 14, but from high school to after college, a lot of these youth are missing from the masajid. And missing from programs, and they feel that almost sometimes every time they come to the masjid, they just got to do something. They're not a part of it. They're just like almost workers for the masajid. Those brothers, our younger brothers and sisters, need to be given a lot of attention, because whatever we do with them, they're the ones that are either going to pick up the ball where we leave it, or the ball just going to be left there dangling until it's forgotten. So if we do this other effort that we're talking about, the first one, we're trying to help the communities grow and help all of our brothers and sisters all around. We have to simultaneously be raising the youth to ready, so that they're ready, that as soon as the elders, they say, like, you know what, that's it, I can't do anymore, they can jump into place. But the way we're doing it, if we're not careful, we're just going to leave all of our efforts and it's just going to fizzle out like a lot of situations. We don't want that. So I think the youth is definitely another place that we can really put a lot of focus on. And I would say not to seclude the youth. That's one method some people take, where they seclude them. You don't have to do that, but you just have to be aware that you're sending your kid for 13 years, almost 40 hours a week, to someone else who have a different set of morals and values than what you have. And even if they come home because of homework, because of TV, entertainment, how much time do they actually spend with the family? How much time do they actually spend with the community? And then you sit back, and after 13 years, like, wait, what's going on? Why is my kid used to love to pray? She used to love to wear a hijab. How come now they don't? They're human beings. We were sponges made to absorb from society. So it's not to seclude them, but you have to be aware of it, to come up with a way for them to understand what it is they should absorb from and what it is they should learn from, whether it's good or bad. Because scholars in the past, they not only learned from the pious people, they learn from the people who are not pious. And when they ask, how'd you learn from them? They say, well, we just observed them and just did the opposite of what they did. So our kids are very smart. And if we try to trick them by just scaring them, like, you're going to go to hell if you do this, you're going to do this, they're going to wise up to, like, well, what are you talking about? Like, they'll see the hypocrisy within our life, and they'll see, like, well, okay, if I'm going to hell, you're going to hell, so I'll see you there. It's like, they won't say that to their parents. They won't say that to their elders. They won't even say that to the Imams. But in their heart, it's going to be this thing that's fighting this internal conflict that and eventually something may tip them one way or the other. Hopefully it tips them all the right way, but we see amongst our youngsters that sometimes it tips them off, and a lot of times it tips them off the other way. So I think if we just start those places, that's a good place to start. There's plenty of other stuff. Look at Ramadan. Ramadan gives us an example of, if you pay attention to what you eat, to what you consume, if you consume in a way that's moderate, that you're not filling yourself, if you are conscious of your creator, that even your lack of food reminds you of your creator, and you have that kind of taqwa, your days will be filled with virtuous acts all around. But as soon as Ramadan finishes, we leave it completely and we go to an extreme side of completely stuffing ourselves, of delaying our prayers, of not being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we fall into our old habits that sort of drift us slowly away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where we got closer and closer during the month of Ramadan.
Yeah, that's all very important points. Very important points, especially, we with the kids. I mean, we're in an age where as much as there are wars being fought with missiles and tanks and drones, there's wars being fought right here with ideas, and the ideas that are being kind of concocted and brought together on some of these campuses of these universities are very strange and foreign to Islam, but they trickle down, from those institutions of higher learning to the high schools, to the elementary schools, so on and so forth. So we have to be able to counterbalance that and do it with love and concern and with hikmah, to let them know, at least to be literate enough spiritually to be able to recognize it when they encounter some of these ideas. So yeah, that's very good. The last question I'll ask is, and I'm asking this because I've been to some very mashallah, some very good programs at MCC, and because I'm kind of more southern in the city, I don't get up that way as much as I would like to, especially now with the way that this gas is, the price of this gas, it's even harder for me to get up that way. But alhamdulillah, I went to one a few years back with Sheikh Omar Suleiman. He did something about Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. That was a very good presentation that he did. I went up probably a year before COVID as well with Imam Zaid Shakir. That was a nice program. And so many times I've been to beautiful programs at your community. So I mean, my question is, what's next? What are the plans? What are the programs, the initiatives? What's the vision coming up soon for MCC, inshallah?
Well, there's a few things that we're trying to do. One, we're trying to make, and hopefully all masajids have this in mind, I'm sure they do, is instead of doing haphazard programs, try to make them all connected, that there's a goal behind each program. And then it's not just like a talk given on a certain issue, but that talk should result in something that's in addition to the masjid, an additional service provided at the masjid, or at least some kind of contact given so that the masjid can refer people that need help in regards to that topic. For example, if we give a topic on mental awareness, mental health, we don't just give a talk on mental health and just end it, but we give it on it, and then we at least get some phone numbers and contacts of people that can provide service, or there's a service included within MCC to do so. There's the other thing that we're trying to do is, right now I've been the only Imam at MCC for a while now. We're thinking of trying to bring another Imam, a scholar here, so that it can make it easier. And if with two Imams, at least one of us can be involved with MLC and other programs. With myself, if I'm not there, then there's no one at MCC. So my involvement outside of MCC will be very minimal a lot of times. So by doing that, hopefully we'll be able to not only allow ourselves to be involved in other programs outside, but also make MCC much more productive and much more lively, that both with schooling of in ilm, as well as if we can provide schooling, secular schooling as well too. But those other programs, specific special programs like Sheikh Omar Sulaiman, Dr. Jackson, those things we're going to try to do as much as we can. It obviously relies on their availability as well too. But those are wonderful when we bring in outside mashayikh from outside of San Diego, that bring a different life or different breath and a different way of thinking that helps us all to sort of just give us another outlook on everything that we do. So definitely those things are going to keep happening, inshallah. We're going to keep doing those programs. We haven't had anything set yet with the mashayikh outside. We're mainly focusing this year, what we focused on is the expansion at MCC. We're going to be hoping to build an expansion that's going to multiply the amount of people the capacity of MCC Musalli to about 5 times more. So it'll be like 1,500 more. And inshallah, with that, we can have a little bit more at ease and peace, and then more programs. Mainly, I think what I want to focus a lot more this year, MYSD has been doing a great job, mashallah, working with them to try to really give a place for the high schoolers and the college students, a place at MCC. This is not a place just for the elders. This is not a place for only the younger kids. It's their place as well too, and we want them to understand that you can come here. We have a basketball court. We created a little weightlifting area. We're trying to do more and more so that they can feel like they can come here, relax, do what they want to do, whether it's their homework or come back, do some sports, hang out, pray their salat, and just build a relationship with the masjid that they realize this is their center. Even if they want to go somewhere, they say, hey, let's meet at the masjid, we'll go. That's a big improvement if we can just have that. So that's going to be a great focus for ourselves this next year, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. It's all good. Excellent work. I don't see any questions in the chat. So with that, we'll close. If you can, please just close us out with a dua. And before we do go, once again, Jazakallahu bi khair. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us these words of enlightenment and these reminders. We appreciate it, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve you in what you're doing, and give you manifold reward for all of your work and ibadat. And inshallah, if you can, close us out with a dua. Inshallah.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to also thank you, Jazakumullah khairan. You're ending my Ramadan in a beautiful way by allowing me to give da'wah. One of the best things that we could do, the Prophet ﷺ being a da'i. So I appreciate that you guys giving me this opportunity to end my Ramadan on such a beautiful act as well too. I'll make a quick dua. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Ya Allah, we ask that you make this ending Ramadan the blessed and the most blessed part and the most merciful part of the whole Ramadan. We ask that you end this Ramadan with all of us being forgiven, with all of us being showered with your mercy. And we ask that you make this Ramadan an impactful Ramadan for the next 11 months to come, that we continue doing with the deeds of Ramadan outside of Ramadan. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness for all of our shortcomings. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Keep me in your du'as.
Ameen. Allahumma ameen wa iyyakum.